Okay. Okay, ladies and gents, boys and girls, what is going on? Happy Wednesday, this hump day, September the 14th, 2022. Hope you're all doing well. Chris Phillips here of the Daily Crow of the Spurs Up Show. We got a lot to get into. We're taking your questions, your comments, your calls as well. 843-790-3377. That is 843-790-3377. Let's see. I see Lance, Joseph, Connor Lee, Brian Mobley, Justin Langford, Tony Belt, Brennan M., Travi, Hunter Johnson. We got Todd Smith already with the super chat. Todd, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All those you want to support on YouTube, you can do so with super chat, super stickers. I see Gad. Austin War says, Connor, you made it on the Paul Feinbaum show. Really? God, how did nobody get a clip of this? Austin, I might need to go back and watch Paul Feinbaum from what, yesterday? Is that what you're telling me? Yesterday? Either way, that's awesome stuff. Yeah, shout out my guy, Connor. Shout out my guy, Connor. And I realize, Connor, by the way, I've been saying your name, Connor, incorrectly, and you have not corrected me once since we've known each other. I've been saying Connor McCormish. That's wrong. There's no R. It's Connor McComish. Is that right? I don't think it's McComish. It's Connor McComish. So either way, Connor M. Appreciate you, Connor, in the Big Cock Club. Shout out to Connor. Also, speaking of the Big Cock Club, if you're in the Big Cock Club Discord, head over to the TDC Questions channel. The TDC Questions channel, be sure your questions are answered there. Guys, again, really exciting stuff. Big time show today. We got a lot to discuss and get into. We got my good friend, Anthony Triesch of Pro Football Focus. He'll be joining the show today. Fingers crossed the Muschamp hackers and all leave us alone. I know yesterday was crazy with, I don't know why Alex's audio, it sounded like there was like a snorting pig in the background or something like that. But either way, really, really excited to chat with Anthony, guys. Before we dive into everything, I want to tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks, because the Daily Crow is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Go download the Prize Picks app, go to prizepicks.com, and when you do, use the promo code TSUS. You're going to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Guys, again, you're gambling on college football, college sports. You're betting on the lines, the over-unders, the futures. You need to bet on these prop plays with our friends over at Prize Picks. Again, download the app, go to their website, whatever. Hey, you can bet on literally everything, every prop, every statistic for the Gamecocks and many, many other teams, and also every sport as well. Hey, shout out my boy P-Dog. He is crushing Prize Picks right now. Guys, Prize Picks is practically giving away free money with some of these plays. Again, our friends at Prize Picks. Download the app or go to prizepicks.com. When you do, use the promo code TSUS to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. And again, we appreciate our friends at Prize Picks, love and support. And guys, I want to say this too, because I know a lot of people, you probably listen to a lot of shows. They give you a lot of ad reads. I want you all to know, though, that when you guys are using this promo code, it isn't just something that's like, oh, just for fun, use the promo code. Like, you guys are directly helping support the business. So I want to make sure you understand how appreciative I am of the love and support. And guys, I mean, it's one thing. Hey, listen, it's great to have sponsors and have partners and all that good stuff. But the beautiful thing is that you guys actually support and show love to the sponsors and show love to the partners. And that's what makes it successful. That's what makes TSUS pop off. So I want to say thank y'all, man, so much for the love. Like I said, I'm very blessed and fortunate, by the way, to have a bunch of sponsors and partners that believe in me, believe in my vision, believe in TSUS to the freaking moon. As I sit here right now, we got like 50 packages of towels packaged up. I'll be taking these to the post office as soon as we get done here and getting these towels out to you all, so you will have them by Saturday's game against Georgia. To hell with Georgia. Connor says, yeah, my name makes an O sound. Connor, please correct me next time. Like he said, it never felt like correcting me. Well, I hate that I've been saying your freaking name wrong. Connor McComish. Okay, well, then I'm wrong. Connor McComish. All right, there we go. Now I know, though. Now I know. And also, we'll be linking up with Connor. We'll be linking up with Connor if you're in the student section. My boy Connor will have these on hand. I will have these on hand at the TSUS tailgate at Seawells on Saturday. Come get yourself a Beamer Ball sticker. We've still got plenty of them. I probably only gave out like 50 of them or so at at the Ale House watch party in Greenville, and I ordered like 650 of them. So we have got plenty of stickers to give away. Again, Connor, I bet you won't be able to keep these things for longer than like 20 minutes. So they're going to be a hot commodity. They're absolutely free. Again, these will be absolutely free. The Beamer Ball stickers, What happened? What? Here we go. Okay. Can you guys see me? Can you hear me? No idea what's going on. The Muschamp hackers having a field day with us. Anybody? Beatboxing. Anybody hear me? What's going on? I have no idea what happened. Dude, I don't know. I'm telling you guys, I say this every single day, but I'm getting tired of saying it. I love the Melon platform, but I don't know why. I don't know why we have some of these technical issues that we have. Guys, we're waiting on Anthony Triesch of Pro Football Focus right now to join us, and it looks like he is here in the behind the scenes, if you will, John. I glitched. I apologize, guys. Sorry. Again, technology is great until it isn't. The Muschamp hackers, like I said, are looming. But with that being said, we got a lot to discuss and dive into. With that being said, let's get him in here. Anthony Triesch of Pro Football Focus joins us as he does each and every single week. Anthony, what's going on, my friend? Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry being a couple minutes late. As soon as I hit the link on my laptop, it just crashed on me. So now I'm on my phone. So got to address that issue later on today. But yeah, I'm glad I'm here finally.
Dude, listen, you are feeling, I don't know what it is. I think it's just when you do this every single day, you run into more problems, because I sit here on my end and I'm like, do people that do live shows and stuff, do they have these technical issues? But I guess when you're a one-man operation and you're just a guy and his MacBook and a microphone, sometimes some weird things happen, my guy. But hey, we press on either way. Again, man, I appreciate you taking the time. And Anthony, really excited to chat with you, because seen a lot of you guys' numbers and statistics, and I'm sure that's something, I'm not really surprised, because as these games go and the season goes, you have even more analytics and data, and then, of course, you get into conference play, and, the numbers start to become a little bit more relevant, I think, as you play conference games and get against kind of equal competition, if you will. So we'll start with this game, of course, on Saturday. Before we dive into the specifics and the numbers, Gamecocks dropped the matchup to Arkansas, 14 points. A little bit of a higher scoring game than I expected, but overall, I thought the game went how I thought it would in regards to, we both talked last week, did not love the matchup with Arkansas in the trenches. Your just overall thoughts, the 30,000-foot view on that game on Saturday, and were you surprised at all by how it played out?
Wasn't too surprised. I think I was a little, I would say slightly just surprised at how poorly Rattler played overall through the course of the game. It was very volatile. Overall, the final score, the output, just the rushing that Arkansas was able to do, that success in that regard, it wasn't too surprising, because, I agree with you. The matchup was, it was pretty rough for South Carolina. And also, too, I talked about the defense, what Arkansas maybe would throw their way. That was interesting. It was a mix of everything. It was constantly changing and evolving. They did just about anything they could. And it really disrupted both, the offensive line, just really everything in the offense. So, it wasn't too surprising, but, I thought we would see a little bit of growth within the offense just overall as a whole, even though it was a level up in competition.
Now, let's start first with that Gamecocks defense, because it was from you guys this statistic came out, and I thought it just really spoke and it told the tale, because I know, we want to get into Spencer Rattler, talk offense, and everybody loves talking offense. But where I thought the game was lost was obviously the run defense. You give up 295 yards rushing on the ground. I don't really care what your offense does, unless you're playing a service academy and they've got 0 passing yards. You don't stand much of a chance to beat anybody when you give up damn near 300 yards rushing. But the stat that stood out, 21 broken tackles for Arkansas, 154 yards after contact. And those numbers, again, are via Pro Football Focus. I just really feel like, Anthony, that number, just that statistic alone, it really tells the tale of what we saw on Saturday.
Exactly. That's the story of the game. And I was actually doing some stuff the other day, just right after the game, for another project behind the scenes here. and saw South Carolina, miss tackles numbers. It was near the bottom of the country. That you can win with those types of numbers, but it's going to be pretty damn hard to get to, that final result that you want there. It's just kind of a number that's almost a liability in a sense. Is it going to happen every week? No. Again, I mean, you're talking about one of the most physical rushing attacks in college football with the way they play. I mean, it's not easy going up against those guys down there in Arkansas, but at the end of the day, it's still kind of it's teetering on that unacceptable range. So, it's something to monitor. Again, we talked about it last week too, when to click press the panic button on everything. It's not time to click the panic button yet. I mean, again, we're still 2 games in, and it's a good point that you made. Data's just now starting to kind of come into form because you get a lot of outliers early in this time of year. And I think that's the biggest mistake a lot of people make is just, taking 1 or 2 game sample sizes and running away with it and thinking that's just going to be the story of the season. But, it's the story of the game, not necessarily the season yet. Give it a few more games there. So it's definitely something that, played a major part. I would say was probably the number one issue, as far as why Arkansas beat South Carolina, the way they did. So, it's definitely something to keep track of in the coming weeks. But yeah, I mean, it was about as bad as it could possibly get, just from a week 2 since South Carolina, it was down there with one of the worst in the country overall for the week.
Now, with that being said, Anthony, there were some standout individual performers. You look at Zach Pickens up front, 12 total tackles, half tackle for loss. Jordan Birch, 10 total tackles, a sack, and 2 tackles for loss. Unfortunately, again, you lose Jordan Strawn and Mo Kaba for the season. One guy we're really high on, Nick Eamon-Wari, in his first ever career start, 11 total tackles, had a quarterback hurry. Just talk about from the defensive side, again, while as a whole it was not a positive performance, I feel like there were probably some guys on you guys in that stood out as positive performers from the numbers side of things.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely positive performers. And really with this whole group, like when we talked about it in the preseason, was you don't see a well-rounded group yet, but you can see the possibility to get to that level and at least getting some, signs that if everybody's kind of clicking and at I wouldn't say the peak of their form, but at least above, where they've been and taking that next step forward, then you start to kind of see some progress there. And, you mentioned Pickens and Merckx, like those guys were ones that were pegged as like, these are the guys that are going to take that step forward this year. They need to take that step forward. And I still think there's plenty of room to grow, but we're at least seeing, I would say, more consistent flashes and consistent play throughout. Now, it's not to say it's completely consistent, but whereas before it was just missing some games, but now we're starting to see it, I think, just a little bit more. And that's encouraging as you get into conference play. Not every team's going to be like Arkansas with the way they play stylistically. Arkansas is not the best team in the country, but they're just, they're a bad matchup for the way South Carolina plays. And so I do think it will get a little bit easier. It's not going to get any easier this upcoming week with Georgia, obviously, but after that, even though it is some of the top competition in the country, I think they're better equipped to handle them. Especially if guys like Pickens and Birch specifically can kind of continue to take that next step forward there. So, all in all, it was a, overall, I would say a poor performance in certain areas, but like you said, you have those certain standout performers where, again, if everybody's clicking, then you can get a little bit more, encouraged about what could come. But yeah, unfortunately too, the injuries, I mean, those are kind of crushing a little bit. And now you just kind of have to make sure that the people replacing them are, not necessarily, they don't have to be great. They don't even have to be good. They just can't be an issue. And that's I think really the story of the South Carolina defense is I think you have enough of that star power there where as long as you have no issues, you're going to be fine defensively. And now it goes back to the offense and whether or not they can kind of produce at that elite level.
Yeah, I think the defense, Anthony, to your point, will have much more fun Saturdays than we saw. But that matchup specifically, it just, it was one we talked about a lot. And I just personally did not feel like it played in our favor very well. And certainly you saw that on Saturday afternoon. Let's move to the offensive side, Anthony, because you mentioned at the top of the show, Spencer Rattler did not play well in your eyes. 24 of 39, 376, 1 touchdown, 1 reception, a 54.6 QBR for folks that care about such things. But definitely early on, I think missed some game-changing deep balls that, again, certainly would have changed the complexion of the football game. I've got no issues with how Spencer Rattler played on Saturday. He wasn't that Heisman level great, but, there's 10 other guys around him. And he's also still dealing with a lack of a running game, 29 carries for 40 yards. Even if you take away the sack yardage, 29 carries, or excuse me, 63 total yards rushing. Just give me your thoughts, your perspective on how you think he played. I mean, again, talking to some, and even the announcers were saying he's looking at the rush, right? He's still looking at the rush. The one interception that he had the guy open in the end zone for a second. Instead, his eyes are on the rush. He throws late. It's picked. What you saw from Rattler on Saturday, and again, it sounds like that you're still kind of left looking for more out of him after 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I'm telling, if people haven't heard me talk before, I'm one of the biggest Spencer Rattler supporters out there in the country that's not, in the South Carolina region. Definitely he had some mistakes, and you mentioned that one interception. And, you consistently saw that throughout the game. I think there's a lack of trust maybe up front, and understandably so. I mean, that offensive line is, if I'm not mistaken, the lowest graded from a pass protection perspective at the Power 5 level. And that just can't really hold there. Spencer Rattler is great when, performing outside the structure of the offense, but you can clearly see that they've been working on with him, trying to not do that, winning from the pocket. But sometimes, when you're in those situations, when you're in a muddy pocket there, and, you have to worry about the rush, and, you have a talented secondary there, you can get yourself into some issues. I think the biggest thing with him that I would like to see him improve on is not just that, but just kind of, being a little bit more decisive, and that is kind of coincided with that, but also just have a better understanding of defender leverage. I mean, he had 2 good throws to Juice Wells, where, deep receptions towards the end of the game where, he did put it away from the defender, kind of threw the receiver open. But, over the course of the game, he had some mistakes there. I mean, there were a couple other interceptable balls thrown throughout there. But again, I think this all kind of comes back to, the offensive line and whether or not it can improve, because when you're, spending the amount of, dropbacks under pressure like he was, which I think it was around 20, it's going to be hard to kind of win that way. So, I think it's not just the way he performed. I think it was a group as a whole, and in the running game, not having success. And I think it goes along with the offensive line as well. But again, I still think, 7's best plays ahead of him. We've seen enough from him to know what he can do. I think it's just about the situation as a whole getting better. And I think that one of the things that I want to see from, just the whole offense is just kind of taking some stress off the offensive line's shoulders, because we really didn't see that. Now, South Carolina was playing from behind for a good amount of that game, but, you could still do, I think, a little bit better job, integrating more play action, more RPOs, just to help the offensive line out, because when they're in those obvious passing is true, pure passing concepts, it's difficult, right? And especially when you're playing a talented defensive front like Arkansas's, they're going to get bullied and pushed around some a little bit. And so that's the thing when you look at this Georgia game upcoming, that's when I want to see changed a little bit. And, kind of adding more plays that are an extension of the run game, getting a little bit more creative, getting your guys in space. I think that's just kind of the whole thing there, because I think the way they played Arkansas was how you would play kind of, a group of 5 team or a lesser SEC opponent, but not necessarily a team that, that's as talented as they are on defense. So, I don't think it was all, I mentioned Spencer Rattler played poorly. I was a little disappointed in that, but I wouldn't say he shoulders all the blame there. I think it was kind of a group thing. And I think it was almost a trickle down effect as to, at the end of the day, because if you look at his PFF grade, it's not great. And the reason why, I think it's definitely, of course, some of it is his doing, but I think a great deal of it is just a trickle down effect from everything around him, and then kind of him putting him in really bad situations there. So I do think that he will turn it around, definitely. I said that last week. I'm still on the record. I do think he will turn it around, but in order for him to kind of maximize his full capabilities, everything else around him is going to have to get better, and that's not necessarily he can control.
And Anthony, I want to make this point as well, because I don't know if maybe we have some new people tuned in, or I'm just seeing the comments, and I want to make the point, again, like you mentioned, you're obviously high on Spencer Rattler. You just have, sky-high expectations for him because you know what he's capable of. So I just want to throw that out there for anybody who's commenting or saying anything. Again, I don't think you come from a place of, trying to, God forbid, bring the kid down or anything, but you just, and you've seen and believe in the type of level that he can play at, that he's capable of playing at.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he is capable of being one of the best quarterbacks in college football. I genuinely think he can be that. And I still think by season's end, he can kind of turn the national media's eyes around and be like, okay, this guy is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He's definitely has that kind of ceiling. So I do think that if you're just looking for good enough quarterback play, I mean, you're probably pleased with what he did. But again, I still think that he can be, he had too many of those jaw-dropping moments at Oklahoma to think that he can't do that at South Carolina. It's still in, and there's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. One guy I want to highlight, obviously, Anthony, before we move off this Arkansas game, moving to Georgia, Antoine Wells on the outside, 8 catches for 189 yards, a touchdown. He had that long one of 64 yards. Just talk about his game, how he graded out. And again, I know you and I mentioned him in the preseason, the transfer from James Madison. He certainly looked to be as good as advertised on Saturday afternoon.
100%. I mentioned last week that the biggest thing that I learned from the Georgia State game was that he's going to be the guy in this offense. And then he verified that against Arkansas. I mean, he's going to be the go-to guy. And I think that's what makes me excited about what this offense could be, because right now it's just him. But if you get these guys healthy, if you can get Stogner back to where he was, and that's still an if, but if you can get Van, you can get Rucker out there, you're looking at a really good group. And Jaheim Bell, of course. So that's where I get really excited about what this offense can be. But right now, Juice Wells is definitely performing like he really is one of the most productive receivers in college football. Like you said, just to the receptions there. I mean, you look at his yards per route run, which is a great measure here at PFF. The measures per route production. I mean, I think it's over 4.3, which again, it's 2 games. We still need to see more, but that's a pretty decent number for his first 2 games at the Power 5 level, coming from a previous FCS level school in James Madison. He's just an all-around type. He's definitely that downfield threat there. And I think, what you can do, just kind of the adjustment to the balls downfield, like we saw against Arkansas, I think that's a huge thing. And I think as him and, number 7 continue to build that relationship, build that trust out there on the field, these guys can really explode. And we're already seeing some pretty good play out of the 2 just in that connection alone. So I definitely think that, we've seen great from Juice Wells, and I think we're only going to see better from him. So, he's definitely, a sneaky name out there where obviously we know who he is. South Carolina fans know who he is, but national media still may not know who he is, but I think they will here pretty soon.
Anthony, let's move to the game this weekend. Let's talk the Georgia Bulldogs. Do they have a weakness? I mean, I haven't seen the grades or anything, but when you look at their first 2 weeks of the season, you beat Oregon 49-3 after a lot of folks spent the preseason saying, well, Georgia lost a lot from last year. They're not going to be as good as they were. Yeah, right. They're ranked number 1 in the country in defense yet. Again, Stetson Bennett is playing the best football of his entire life. He's thrown for over 300 yards in the first 2 games. They're loaded across the board. When you look at Georgia, what do the numbers say? How do they grade? I mean, again, I have to imagine the number 1 team in the country, their numbers are just jaw-dropping across the board, if you will.
Yeah, it's really hard to find a weakness just through the first 2 weeks. I think the biggest thing with this group is just the confidence. They didn't lose it. It's still there like it was last year. And the fact that they have like 5 stars coming in, young players that have never played. It's just, it's astonishing at the level that they're performing. Again, it's 2 games. We need to see more from them. But, Malachi Starks, the true freshman defensive back, what he did against Oregon, that was phenomenal stuff. And, I really do think that this defense, again, I want to see more, but it's hard imagining that they're going to be much worse than one of the, a top 5 group nationwide. So pieces are definitely there. I still think that there are vulnerabilities to expose because, well, Stetson Bennett's been great. I think we've still seen enough from him to know that if they do get down a little bit, and I think Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator there, is probably one of the more underappreciated assistants in the country. He has a wealth of experience. He's a well-known person, but what he's doing with what he has with that offense is, against Oregon 49-3. It's ridiculous. So I do think that, Stetson Bennett, I'm not going to say he's a complete byproduct of the system he's in. He is playing confident like everybody else on that team, but I do think that, when the situation gets a little bit more difficult and he has to do a little bit more, more's put on his plate, that's when that offense can falter a little bit. And I think that's when it gets interesting. So I don't know if anyone's going to beat him in the regular season. But, I do think I could see a scenario where if they do lose, it's not going to be anyone's fault. Maybe it's Stetson Bennett's fault. It's just a very well-rounded group. Once again, it's just, you don't have necessarily that quarterback that you can count on a week-to-week basis. But again, he's playing phenomenal so far. We can see if he can keep making these sharp decisions, take good care of the football. And if that's the case, then, it's going to be tough to beat them.
It's up to Clayton White, Anthony, to combat or to devise a game plan to slow down that Georgia offense. How do you think the Gamecocks should attack them? Again, it's a Herculean task, if you will. What's interesting in these first 3 weeks for South Carolina, and maybe we touched on this a couple of weeks ago, but I felt like this season almost has built on itself in the sense of Georgia State did something. Then Arkansas just does more or did more of what Georgia State did, but way, 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 way better. And now Georgia is like, they are the best that you've seen thus far, but you gave up 200 yards rushing in week 1, 295 in week 2. I don't have a lot of confidence coming in this when you're going to slow down the Georgia rushing attack. And now you face a Georgia offense that, again, like you mentioned, has so many weapons and so many options. What can South Carolina do to slow down the Georgia attack and, lack of a better way of putting it, keep themselves in the football game?
Yeah, it's going to be tough because you need to slow down the run game. And just like you mentioned, like what we've seen so far, there's plenty of reason to believe that's just not going to happen. And that's when it gets concerning, because if you get more guys up to the line of scrimmage, they're going to beat you because Tom Monken's going to bring in that heavy personnel. South Carolina's going to suck in that defense. And the next thing you know, you got a play action, 30-yard bomb down the middle there, and free guy running in space, touchdown. I mean, they did that continuously last year. The biggest thing is, first of all, you got to stop the run. You need to get them into 3rd and long situations. And at that point, when you're in those obvious passing situations, Stetson Bennett really struggles when you have, I would say, diverse pressure packages, right? If you bring those linebackers, mug them at the line of scrimmage, and then bring some simulated pressures and creepers in there, it really throws him off. That's when the pass rush really, falters him a lot. And then I think that's when you can kind of get him into making mistakes and turnovers. You look at the SEC championship game last year, that's a prime example of that. Alabama did a fantastic job in those situations. Obviously he got his revenge in the national title game, but, he did show multiple times throughout the season that if he needs to win in those situations, it's a little bit more difficult, and the defense can kind of take advantage of that. And it's just, for South Carolina, it's just about getting into those situations. I think they can do the last part, but it's just the beginning, stopping the run, just being heady for some of the, I would say, eye candy that they are going to throw their way. Of course, when you have a diverse, or dynamic weapon like Brock Bowers, it can be a little bit difficult there. So they definitely have the pieces there. But, stopping the run is probably the number one thing they got to do. And if they do that, then I'm not going to say that they're going to completely shut down the offense, but they're going to make it at least interesting. And I think you could possibly force Stetson into a turnover or two. And at that point, it could be, maybe it'll win the game, but they make it a little bit closer than it should. So, there's definitely ways to stop Georgia's offense. Unfortunately for South Carolina, it's just evolving around getting the run game, kind of controlling that. And what we've seen so far, it's going to be pretty difficult for them to do that. So I think it's an interesting game. I wouldn't completely just say it's a done deal. It's close. Georgia's going to win by 30. I wouldn't say that. But, South Carolina is going to have to overcome a lot in order to get, relatively close to beating them at the end of the day.
Yeah, Anthony, this is a football team offensively looking to find its identity, and not really the best opponent to do that against. I wouldn't say Georgia's the best opponent to try to find yourself against, but when you look at this offense and going into this football game, I'll ask you kind of the same question on the flip side. How do you think the Gamecocks offense should attack Georgia? I feel like, listen, you can't run the football. I don't think, like you mentioned, this is the week you figure it out on the run game. All of a sudden, you're pushing Georgia around when you ain't pushing anybody else around. Spread them out. Let Spencer Rattler throw. This is a Georgia defense, by the way, just 3 sacks on the season. So an offensive line that was better pass blocking a little bit last week, a little bit. Maybe Spencer Rattler can have some success. Just talk about that offense, how you think they should attack Georgia, and what you're looking for from Spencer Rattler, because, again, this is a big game for him.
Yeah, I mean, this Georgia defense, even though they lost a lot of talent, it's still one of the best coached group. And mainly when I say that, it's because of Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann being the co-defensive coordinator there alongside your pal. But, I do think that it's going to be hard to run on these guys just because they're so well coached. I mean, they're just technically sound, right? And, if you watch any clips of their practices or, any of the coaching clinics, you can understand why. It's just almost robotic, the movements that they make, and it's hard to stop when you have these just physically gifted freaks there. So it's going to be hard to run on them. I think from a passing perspective, I mentioned it earlier, you need to see just a little bit more creativity, I think, from a play calling perspective. That's what you're going to have to do against these talented teams. And I think just in general, that's just something South Carolina needs to do just to kind of mask that issue up front with the offensive line. You mentioned the sack number. I think that's kind of interesting. But I look at some of the guys on the Georgia defensive line, like Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith. Those guys could have a field day if South Carolina has the same offensive game plan as they did against Arkansas, right? Even though if they do get down a little bit early, it's not just in that panic mode. I think you could still just kind of have room to, try to throw some stuff their way. I think they're going to have to. It's just going to have to be a little bit of luck too on maybe some trick plays. But I think you have to throw some play action shots in there. I think you need to increase the motion. You need to bring more RPOs to the table. Just make it a little bit easier to complete passes. Maybe it could be a little dink and dunk style, and then you hit them over the top. But you need to be more creative, right? And I think that's just the key there. You're not going to beat this Georgia team from a talent perspective, but maybe you can, I wouldn't say out-coach them, but, just out-call plays better than them, right? Just kind of throw some stuff that they're not expecting there. So, I think that's just kind of the key there. A little bit of luck could go a long way for them, but definitely just be a little bit more creative than what they have been.
Yeah, Anthony, on a final note, I think back to 2019, and you talk about some luck fall your way, a couple of interceptions, a pick six, some good fortune, and maybe that's the recipe for what would arguably be the upset of the year in college football. The Gamecocks are able to take down Georgia. Anthony Triesch of Pro Football Focus. Be sure to check out his work. Anthony, it's always a pleasure to chat with you, my friend. Looking forward to doing it again next week.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Great stuff from Anthony Triesch. Really, really great insight. I always love it. Again, I love the I love getting the feedback from Anthony on the numbers side of things. Really diving into the numbers and their grades. And again, guys, those will start to come into even more focus as we navigate throughout the season. We get further into conference play. Again, those numbers start to become a little bit more relevant, if you will. Guys, something I noticed, and I talked about this before, moving the Daily Crow strictly to YouTube. I mean, it looks like 95% of our comments are coming from YouTube anyways. So you guys give me some feedback. Let me know. Would that be something you'd be okay with? Is that something you guys would be open to? Again, I'm seeing 98%, it feels like, of the comments are coming from the YouTube side of things. So if that's the case, I mean, it makes sense to just go ahead and move it all there and migrate it there. I think YouTube is the superior platform. And obviously, it helps the business the most because, again, you can't monetize Facebook. You can't monetize Twitter. You can monetize YouTube. So if we do make a change, it will be start of next week. I'll let you guys know and keep you updated. In the meantime, guys, we got about 10 or 15 minutes before we take a break. Phone lines are open, 843-790-3377. Well, John, there's no way to only allow comments on YouTube. I don't think that's even really possible. I don't think so. If it is, I'm not familiar with it. Appreciate the love on the hat. Yeah, this hat is fire. This hat is fire. I haven't worn the vintage in quite a while. Figured we pull it out. We got, of course, the Beamer Ball on. Love this white Beamer Ball shirt, man. It pops. Anyways, guys, Wednesday of Carolina, Georgia. To hell with Georgia, indeed. We dropped the podcast this morning, of course, episode 702. My full breakdown of the gambling side of things. Best bet in this football game. Also, my SEC gambling picks. We sit 15-12 right now overall. Not bad. Had a good week last week. 8-4. 8-4 week. So 15-12 is where we are at. Looking forward to yet another big week this weekend. And my best bet, guys, I got the under 52. I just think you look at this game, I understand the Gamecocks were able to expose Arkansas in that matchup in regards to going up against that weak Arkansas secondary. But I don't know. I don't know what type of success we're going to have against that Georgia defense, a defense that has not given up a single touchdown all season. Now, I think we will score a touchdown. I'll go ahead and go on record and say that. I think it's going to be a daunting challenge, though. I think it's going to be a daunting challenge. Kyler Dooley, we'll go ahead and jump into these comments, these questions, if you will. Dog Post stated earlier this week that Georgia's South Carolina programs have never been further apart. Curious of your thoughts. If I've learned anything, it's don't count USC out, but that was more so in the Spurrier era. Kyler, I would say this. It's really hard to say like, oh, they've never been further apart than this very moment right now, because that will look really stupid if we go out there and, hang close with them, hang tough with them, or God forbid beat them. I mean, listen, Georgia's at an elite level. I mean, Georgia's an elite. There's no other way to put it. They're an elite. Nobody can deny that, right? They're literally the defending national champions. The way they've recruited, what Kirby Smart is doing, again, they are in the midst of the greatest run in their school's history. You just, like, I hate Georgia, but I tip my cap more so to Georgia now. Like I hate Clemson. I don't give them a tip of the cap. I tip my cap to Georgia, man. I just, they're legit. I picked them to go undefeated. They're loaded across the board. We talked about, I mean, listen, here's the thing. We talked about Arkansas. And how that wasn't a good matchup. Let's go ahead and mentally prepare ourselves to the fact that this is not a good matchup. It's not. It's yet again not a great matchup, right? Physicality up front, Georgia's got it. They got it on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and they don't have a weak secondary, guys. Again, I don't see a position, and let's argue this if you want. I don't see a position where South Carolina has the advantage. Not a single one. I don't see a single position where I can look at and say, oh, Gamecocks have the advantage. If I'm missing something, y'all let me know, but I don't see it. I don't see it. And so I think, guys, to make this a fourth quarter game, which is really my goal. It's really my goal. Let's just make this a fourth quarter game if at all possible. You're going to need Georgia to not play their best. Bottom line. I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's just keeping it a buck. You need Georgia to have an off day, just like they did in 2019. Because you think back to 2019 and the upset victory. Guys, Georgia played arguably the worst it could play, and it took us overtime to beat them. Couldn't even beat them in regulation with as bad as they played. So, you're going to need another set of really, really weird circumstances. Stetson Bennett throws a couple picks. You get a defensive touchdown, special teams touchdown. I mean, you hate to go into a game and say, well, you just got no chance. But, guys, if Georgia plays their A game, it doesn't matter what South Carolina does. Their A game won't be good enough to beat Georgia's A game. And on that note, though, there's only one team, in my opinion, in college football who's good enough to beat Georgia when they play their best, and that is Alabama. They're the only team that can do it. So I picked Georgia to go undefeated for a reason. I'm not trying to spoil my predictions or anything, but, I understand the games at Willie B and the magic of Willie B and all that. Guys, I was there in 2018, the magic of Willie B, and we got our butts kicked. I was there in 2016, and we got our butts kicked. Granted, that game was a little bit closer, but, we'll see. I mean, listen, guys, I'd love to see it. Who wouldn't, right? Who wouldn't love to see us beat the Dogs? But realistically, when that ball is snapped, I think that whole, where you're playing it at kind of goes out the window. It comes down to matchups and execution, and it will take a Herculean effort. I think for this to be a one-score game going to the fourth quarter, it will take a Herculean effort. I'm not saying it's not possible. We've seen crazier things, right? We've seen crazier things, but Georgia's for real. I mean, it's more so, again, I'm not telling you we're terrible. I'm not saying that. Georgia's just that good, right? Please understand that because I mean, again, not to spoil it, but my analysis of this game, when I drop my score prediction, please don't get it twisted and think, God, Chris just thinks we're terrible. We're going to win 4 games this year. That's really not it. I think Georgia's that good. Georgia's elite, man. They are on a different level. They're up there with Alabama, right? They're now up there with the Alabamas of the world. So if Georgia plays their A game, it won't matter what you do. You need Georgia to play their C or worse game to have a shot. To have any sort of shot to even keep the game close, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. Again, it's a great opportunity for this football team. It's a great opportunity for Spencer Rattler, right? I'm seeing a lot of commentary. From folks. Oh, man, Spencer Rattler's coming back. There's no way Spencer Rattler's going to the NFL. I'm sure he hates that because he wants to be here 1 year and go. I don't want to speak for him, but I'm pretty sure his objective's to get to the league, right? So it's a big game for him. I mean, this is a game that's on ESPN, nationally televised. You know, he wants to put on a damn show. So we will see. We'll see what happens. Either way, though, it's, you know, we'll see. How about Dudley Dawson? Never even heard of this guy. He's a sports writer, though. Class move this week by South Carolina head football coach Shane Beamer. This is Dudley Dawson tweeting this. Says he called me to apologize for his reaction to a question I asked about Arkansas, after Saturday's loss. It was not necessary, but I greatly appreciate it, and it speaks to his character. And this is, guys, this is regarding the clip that we posted yesterday. Interesting. Coach Beamer, hey, he's class. Shane Beamer's class. So Joseph says, we're beating Georgia. It's only crazy until it happens. I mean, dude, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. Chris Miller says, I feel like the game this weekend won't be very high scoring because Georgia will find success on the ground and just keep the ball on the ground with maybe 20 to 25 pass attempts. Yeah, dude, I'll tell you the easiest play of the weekend. We talk about Prize Picks. They are over-under right now. Over-under on Prize Picks for Stetson Bennett. They are over-under on Stetson Bennett passing yards. 295. 294 and a half. That is insane to me. That's just insane. He's not going to have to throw the ball. That to me is mind-blowing. I mean, that to me is just mind-blowing, dude. Kendall Milton for Georgia, over under 79 and a half rushing yards. That to me is also a no-brainer. Let's see. Do they have the Gamecocks? They don't have Marshawn Lloyd. They got Spencer Rattler at -8.5. -8.5. They are expecting him to get sacked. Antoine Wells over under 57 and a half receiving yards. I think there's some value there, actually. I think there is some value there. Let's see. Receptions, Antoine Wells over under 5. 5 seems kind of high. I don't know. Maybe 5 works. Yeah, AJ Bowers, over under for Rattler passing yards is 210 and a half. I think, if anything, if we have any sort of success offensively, it has to go over. We're not going to run the ball. We're not going to run the ball. I mean, guys, there's 2 things we will not be able to do this week. It is run the ball and stop the run. I'll put $100 on it right now. Anybody who wants to bet, we will rush for less than 100 yards. I mean, that's like and you'd be stupid to bet against me. I think you'd be silly to bet against me. And hey, if it's that, it's not negativity, guys. It's just realism. If it's that comment that fires up this O-line and fires up our offense to go run for over 100, cheers, love it, love to hear it. But from what we've seen right now, there's nothing that tells you we're going to have any success on the ground. I mean, Georgia's just not the team. Georgia's not the team to figure it out against. Guys, let's jump into our first break. Hey, I want to hear from you. The phone lines are open. More of your questions, comments, calls, and more on the other side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. All right, guys, we're back. Taking your questions, comments, calls. 843-790-3377. That is 843-790-3377 here on this Wednesday, September the 14th, 2022. Hey, podcast dropped this morning, episode 702, talking gambling. Also, Tuesday's press conference, everything Shane Beamer had to say. It is a beaten, battered, and bruised bunch going into the game on Saturday. A lot of guys are questionable. Some big-time playmakers and big-time guys you depend on. Cam Smith, R.J. Roderick, who else? Alex Huntley, David Spalding in the secondary as well. Of course, we already know about Jordan Strawn, Mo Cobb out for the year. Sounds like DeCarrion Joyner and Darius Rush will be good to go, though. But, a tough task, even tougher when you think about the injuries and guys who may or may not go on Saturday. Let's get back into your questions. AJ Bauer says another question. How many trick plays do we see in the game? I say at least 2. I say 1, no more than 1. I don't think we do more than 1. I don't know. Caden Gibson, Jeff, give me the under. South Carolina forcing the turnovers and over on giving up 2 turnovers. Okay, you guys are playing over under. Okay, here it is. Jeff Gullidge, over under South Carolina defense gets 2 turnovers, and the flip over under South Carolina offense gives up. I don't know, man. I'm going to say under on gets 2 turnovers. I'm not expecting Georgia to play a bad game. Like I hate to say that. I'm not saying Georgia's going to come in and win 50-0. Obviously, I think Carolina's going to give them a fight. And, but I mean, you look at what happened in 2019, right? It could happen. It could happen. But to predict that, you just can't bank on it. You know what I mean? You can't bank on like what happened in 2019 to happen again. And like I said, that's really the only way that you keep this game close. That's the only way that you keep this game close is some freakish turnovers and certain things like that happening. I think that's the only way, unfortunately. So, we'll see. I mean, you never know. We will see. Maybe it does happen, right? Maybe it does happen. Maybe you're able to, get Georgia in some uncomfortable situations, but, only time will tell, I guess. Only time will tell. Again, guys, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Let's see. Joseph says, I think we can outscore Georgia if we're firing on all cylinders. Joseph, I'd love to believe you, my guy, but you realize Georgia has not given up a touchdown all season. They haven't given up a touchdown. Not a single one. Now, I think we'll change that, which it's so interesting. For the second straight year, we enter the ball game looking to be the first team to score a touchdown against Georgia, right? Again, from your lips to God's ears, my guy, we win a game like 24-21. I just think to win this football game, let's just say this. Let's forget the turnovers and the craziness. To win this football game, I think it would take your defense would have to set the tone. Bottom line, your defense would have to set the tone. And I think the reasoning being, again, you just can't allow them to run all over you. You're going to need to get stops, get the football in Spencer Rattler's hands. Your defense will have to set the tone. And I see Joseph kind of belittling Austin Greer's comment. Georgia looks better. Joseph, I actually would probably agree with Austin. I don't know if the defense is better, but as a team, I could argue Georgia's better. Yeah, I could argue Georgia's better. I still think Alabama's the team to beat, but Georgia, name their weakness. Joseph, name their weakness. I don't know. I don't know what the only thing I could see being their weakness is maybe they just really haven't played anybody. Maybe Oregon's just that bad, But even if they are, I mean, it's not like they squeaked by Oregon. They beat them 49-3. So, we'll see. I mean, listen, maybe Georgia is primed to play their worst game. I mean, you could argue they're primed to play their worst game. So we will see. We will see. Guys, again, phone lines are open, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Greg Bedinger says, I hope he goes pro, speaking of Spencer Rattler. That'll mean he had a great year. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I think people kind of lose sight of that. They lose sight of that in regards like, well, why do we not want Rattler to come back? Well, I mean, it's because we want him to go pro and get drafted. That's a success. I don't think, let me put it to you this way. You're recruiting all these big time quarterbacks. I don't think it's a positive if you bring in a Spencer Rattler and he has such a porous season that he has to come back because he's not getting drafted. Like that's not a positive for us. That's not showing we're doing a good job developing the quarterback position. It's not. It's not. So, yes, I want Spencer Rattler to have massive success. So he's a first couple of rounds draft pick, and we can use that as a recruiting tool. That's what it is, a recruiting tool. So, Gene Lott says you're 100% correct. Defense needs their best game for us to have a chance. Let's jump to the phone lines.
To accept.
Robbie, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm just waiting on my lunch to cook. How are you doing on this wonderful hump day?
I'm doing well, man. Appreciate you asking. What's going on?
I just wanted to say that in order for us to have a shot at least making it close, we're going to have to play basically the same way, and I brought this up a couple of days ago, the same way App State played at Kyle Field against A&M, right? When we're on offense, hang on to the football by any means necessary. That is what, and the time of possession in that game was absolutely lopsided, like all get out. Okay? In order for this game to possibly stay close, by some miracle of God, obviously, we're going to have to dominate time of possession. And when the opportunity presents itself, get points by any means necessary.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say time of possession. You bring up a great point with that. Sustaining drives. I think it's a great point, man. If you can win time of possession, I think you give yourself a great chance in this football game. Yeah. I mean, at least to keep it close.
Right. And anytime the opportunity presents itself, I don't care if it's a field goal or a touchdown, get points on the board. Obviously, we'd all prefer to get 6 and then get the PAT. But in a situation like this, you got to get points whenever they represent themselves, whether if it's a field goal or a touchdown. It doesn't matter. When we are in possible field goal range, and we know that our field goal kicker can make it from where we're at that point in time, you got to take the points when you can get them. Yes, we'll probably have, and of course we'll have to probably go for it on 4th down a couple of times, but you've got to get points whenever the opportunity represents itself.
Yeah, I mean, you got to cash in. You got to cash in when you get the opportunity, no doubt. I mean, Georgia's just too good to to leave points out there. They're too good to leave points out there, no doubt.
And I have my prediction for you if you would like to know it.
I would love to hear it, Robbie. What do you got?
Well, okay, like I said, it's not going to be pretty. I have us getting our brains beat in 42 to 20.
Okay, so you have us scoring 20 points, though. Oh, okay, all right. I mean, that's all right. Very good. All right, 42 to 20. That's what 42 to 20 dogs, what Robbie Davis locked in. That's a very fair prediction. You've got the over hitting. You've got the Gamecocks also covering, by the way. So, all things considered, I mean, whatever. Gamecocks would cover. Good teams win, great teams cover. So, 42 to 20 dogs is what Robbie Davis has got.
And I have not a whole lot of confidence. Oh, one other thing too. Scratch what I just said. Another thing. We're going to have to disguise. I think we will definitely have to do some crazy blitz schemes in order to try and throw Stetson Bennett off his game. And one thing that I would do personally is send a blitz, but don't show it. Send a blitz from somewhere, but don't show it. Have like delayed blitzes planned, or send a blitz from the outside, but don't show it. Do you know what I mean when I say don't show it?
Yeah, disguise it. Yeah,
Okay.
You want to disguise it. Yes.
You don't, like, as in, don't make it look like you're coming. Just make it look like you're going to be in coverage, and then all of a sudden, wait 2 seconds or 3 seconds and just go after the quarterback and hit him hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if we can somehow do that and get Stetson Bennett off his game a little bit, I think we can at least make it respectable.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and you hate to say it, but I do think that is that's the goal. I mean, listen, we all know what South Carolina's up against, and
right.
What they're gonna. It's gonna be like I said, a monumental task, right? To take down the Dogs, certainly, but even keep it close. So, yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to do some special things, I think, to make this a fourth quarter game.
Absolutely, 1,000%.
Yeah, and I know folks,
and of course,
I was going to say I know folks go into a game like this and I mean, listen, you gotta have hope. You gotta have hope, right? I get it. You gotta have hope, but yeah, man, when you're looking at this game realistically, and the beautiful thing is this: the realistic doesn't always happen. Like, it's college football; it doesn't always happen, but there's nothing again that tells you that this game is going to be any different up front from the Arkansas game. And Georgia's just literally a better version, a much better version of Arkansas. So,
exactly.
It's going to take a Herculean effort, in my opinion, to even make this a fourth quarter game.
I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I'll tell you this: I have fully set my expectations. I mean, my expectations are extremely realistic going into the weekend. That doesn't mean I'm not hopeful. I'm not excited for Carolina, Georgia, but my expectations are very, very realistic.
Like you said before, yes, you think we're obviously probably going to get our brains beat in, but you're going to wake up Saturday morning and you're going to think to yourself, I think we're going to win today. But in reality, we're probably going to get our brains beat in. Okay. And at the end of the day, like, I know that we're not on the same level as Georgia. So obviously, will I wake up Saturday morning hoping by some miracle we pull off the biggest upset of the year? Yeah. But the real me is like, we're probably going to get our brains beat. Right.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, yeah, it's a 3+ touchdown defeat at minimum. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And to the people that are ticked off that this is a noon game, okay, that shouldn't matter, okay? Regardless of what time we play, we need to play our best. We need to put our best foot forward and play our style of football, regardless if the game's at noon, 3:30, 7 or 7:30. We got to play our brand of football and take care of business.
Robbie, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What would you define as our brand of football?
Well, for this week, keep the ball out of Stetson Bennett's hands, obviously. But I definitely think in the 2 weeks against Charlotte and SC State, we will hopefully by then have an identity on the offensive side of the football. Because if we go into Kentucky and we don't have a offensive identity, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and Georgia's not a good team to try to find your identity against. That's the problem. You know, we've been talking all week about, you know, what is the identity, what's the DNA. I mean, listen, you'll have games against Charlotte and SC State to figure that out. Georgia ain't the game to figure that out. They're not. They're not the opponent to figure it out. You know, so
right. But like I said, I'll wake up Saturday morning, get ready to watch the game, watch game day, and wake up hopeful, even though, like I said, in reality, we're probably going to get the crap kicked out of us. But we'll just have to see where the chips fall. I mean, and this is a big game because we'll really after this week is over with, we'll really see what this team is made of. Because adversity is fixing to hit you in the mouth at 12 o'clock Saturday afternoon.
that is a fact. Adversity this weekend will be inevitable. That is for sure. That is for sure. Robbie, appreciate you calling. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. And it ain't and like Rocky said in Rocky 6, okay? It ain't about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get up. As long as you get up more times than you get knocked down, you're doing pretty darn good, in my opinion.
Well, Gamecock football's been doing that for over 100 years, Robbie, so I'm sure we'll find a way to get back up after Saturday.
Absolutely. All right, man. You have a great rest of your day, and go Gamecocks, and to hell with Georgia. To hell with them.
Well said. Robbie, I appreciate the call, my friend.
All right, buddy. Have a good one.
Yeah, man. You too. Great stuff from Robbie Davis. 42-20, his prediction. He's got the Bulldogs winning the game. Breaking, what's up, my guy? Appreciate you tuning in. What's going on? What's going on? Here on this Wednesday, we're in hour number 2, taking your questions, comments, calls. Even, listen to this, A.J. Bowers, 35-17 Georgia is his pick. Guys, let me know your predictions. How do you feel about the game? 35-17 is where AJ's at. That was actually my preseason prediction for this game, AJ. I don't know that I'm as high on our offense scoring that many points after seeing what Georgia's done the first 2 weeks. I understand who they've played, but still, you know, I don't want to continue to beat a dead horse, but offensively, defensively, the lines of scrimmage, you haven't been able to run the ball. You haven't been able to stop the run. Why would that change this week? It's not going to. But I mean, it's not going to. It's not going to. There's nothing that tells you it's going to change this week in regards to them, running the football and us not being able to run it. So I think it's I think it is up to Spencer Rattler in the passing game. I think you'll have to try to win on the outside. Like I said, guys, I just don't know where you have the advantage. I really just don't know where you have the advantage. Josh Reichley's got 28-13 Georgia. I hate to say it, Josh. I'd sign up for that score right now. Toby says, to hell with 10 wins. We beat Georgia. I'll get the Beamer ball tattoo. Hey, no take-backs, Toby. No take-backs. No take-backs. But I could argue we beat Georgia. 10 wins might still be on the, might be in the cards. Might be in the cards. Also, somebody mentioned it's a huge recruiting weekend. That's very true. Nicholas Harbor in town for the game. Nicholas Harbor in town. Best thing fans can do, show up, show out, show these recruits who are coming in why it's the, one of the best atmospheres in all of college football. In our opinion, the best atmosphere in college football, especially when we're rocking, when the Gamecocks are good. Willie B it's up there with the greats. It's up there with the elites in regards to in-game atmosphere. And hopefully, again, this football team gives our fan base reason to stay to the clock's hit zero. Now, I would say stay into the clock's hit zero, but I'm never going to tell a man what to do with his money. And listen, you pay for a ticket, you can do whatever the heck you want with it, and you can stay. Heck, you can leave at halftime for all I care. I mean, what am I going to tell you? So, but definitely want to make a good impression on Nicholas Harbor, no doubt. Definitely want to make a good impression on Nick Harbor, and that would be a huge, huge landing. Breaking 70. I know some others in regards to guys we already have committed that will be there. J.C. Sherbert, again, will join us tomorrow, and I'm sure he'll have a much more of a detailed visitor list. We'll get his take on that, because I think recruiting's damn near as big a storyline this weekend as the game itself, because most likely we kind of know what the result's going to be, but the recruiting side of things, I mean, it could be a massive, massive impact if, again, Nick Harbor, obviously has a successful visit, and if we were able to put together a positive performance, that would only help us. It would only help us. So, guys, 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Again, appreciate Anthony Triesch joining us earlier in the show. Do appreciate Anthony. Jeff Gullidge has a score prediction. 21-17 Gamecocks. I love that. I will say this, and this isn't just about Jeff, because I know Jeff tunes in all the time. Jeff, I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much. But it's about other folks I see too. Like, I really do. I respect the heck out of the people that will never pick the Gamecocks to lose. Never. They'll never pick them to lose. Like, there's some people, they just literally cannot pick South Carolina to lose a game. Now, most aren't that way, but there are some that they can't do it. So, Jeff, I love it, man. Again, from your lips to God's ears. From your lips to God's ears, my friend. Hey, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. Why not? Why not? Let's make it happen. I'd love to see it. Again, guys, check out the podcast drop this morning, episode 702. Full breakdown of the gambling side of things. Good chance, by the way, we will have an interview on the show Friday instead of today. We did not have an interview today. Had some scheduling issues with our guest. Really excited, though. I'm actually going on That SEC podcast at 3:00 today with Michael Bratton. Really excited to chat with him. I'm sure we'll talk Carolina, Georgia, and look ahead of the game this weekend. And then I'll be having him on my show next week. So you can look forward to that. Hunter Johnson, you think we still lose 4 more if we beat Georgia? Well, Hunter, I think if you beat Georgia, I think the expectations of the season change, right? I think they do. AJ Bowers, he says to hell with it. There's the AJ Bowers I know. There's the AJ Bowers we all know and love. Guys, we've hit 1:15. Let's jump into a break. But I want to continue to hear from you, more of your questions, comments, calls, and more on the other side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. All right, guys, we're back. Taking your questions, comments, calls. 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. We'd love for you guys to call in with whatever questions you might have, any commentary you want to discuss. This is the place to do it. This is the place to do it. Let's see. Again, podcast drop this morning. Be sure to check it out. Episode 702, talking the gambling side of things in regards to the game this weekend. I'm locked in on the under. Third straight week that I'm playing the under. Third straight week I'm playing the under. Under 52. We're 1-1 thus far in our best bets. I like the under. I do. I like the under. I think Georgia's defense is elite. I think that I think I won't give a prediction, but I do think their defense is elite. I think for us to keep it a close game, we've got to keep it lower scoring. I think we've got to keep it lower scoring, no doubt. Anyways, 843-790-3377. Listen, like I said, guys, you guys are more than welcome to call in. Ask anything you like. Ask anything you like, and I promise we will keep it a buck like we always do. Thank you all so much. Love to support the merchandise side of the business. The towels. I got about 50 packages sitting over here to my left. We will be getting those out a little bit later today. You guys will all have your towels and all have your merchandise by the time the Gamecocks take on Georgia on Saturday. Again, thank you all so much. We'll also have them on sale at Seawells at our tailgate, the TSUS tailgate, spot 78 at Seawells. Looking forward to it. So really, really excited for that. What else? What else we got going on? Anyways, content bleeding out the eyeballs. Of course, the Daily Crow all week long. We'll drop the show on Friday, the prediction, the podcast, if you will. Breaking down the game, key matchups, keys to the game. Jacob says, good teams win, great teams cover. Indeed. And I'll just say this, because there's no point in ignoring it, right? But you notice, like, I have not. We've just kind of kept it moving this week. And I'm hesitant even right now to say anything. Let me just say this. Again, you post thousands of opinions and thousands of takes. The odds that one or two don't hit and don't land with people, or that people take them personally, it's going to happen. It's just going to happen. It's inevitable. It's just, when is it? It's not, because, there are people that it doesn't happen to, but I'll be honest with you guys, they don't pop off because they don't keep it real enough for people to follow along with their opinion on a daily basis. Just call it for what it is, right? So when you keep it real and you keep it a buck and you voice your opinion, there are going to be takes that do not land. There are takes that just do not land. And I see Jirach Beats and I see some others. I'm absolutely not going to apologize, my guy. It was a sports take. If you tune into this show, we've literally had this banter about Dakereon Joyner for months. Dak Joyner, not his fault, by the way. He is a victim of terrible development from the previous staff. He's a victim of that, but he's not a receiver. He's not a quarterback. There's a reason, and I know he's not healthy right now. The point of the tweet was people asking, why is he not playing more? Well, he hasn't been developed at one position. That's not his fault. But it's like, where is he going to break into the lineup? It's not going to be at quarterback, most certainly. And receiver, he's just fighting for reps. So, dude, I mean, people want me to apologize for something. Like, I took a directed personal shot. If you've tuned into this show, we've had Dakereon Joyner is one of the most polarizing players on this football team. Obviously. Because if I would have said the same thing I said about Luke Doty, nobody would have batted an eye. I guarantee you. So, again, I'm not going to carry on in the conversation. I gave a take on Dakereon Joyner's role in this football team and where he fits in and why he is not going to see as much playing time as some maybe would prefer. And that's it. And, again, that's it. There's a reason, like I said, I haven't gone back and forth on social media. If I said something outlandish about his character or used certain language I shouldn't have used, issuing an apology would be warranted, no doubt. I'm not going to apologize for giving a sports take, man. It'd be like asking me to apologize for picking us to lose a game. Like, nah, I'm not doing that. So Sorry. Again, if you have not listened to this show for longer than 30 seconds, it's all love. I've got nothing but love for Dakereon Joyner. Dak Joyner provided one of our greatest Gamecock memories of all time. That is the 2021 Dukes Mayo Bowl. Thank God for Dak Joyner and that performance he had. But you asked me about why is he not playing? What's his role in this football team? I gave you an answer. If you don't like it and you take it personally, I mean, I still sit here on this Wednesday floored by the reaction. Floored. I mean, I just genuinely can't believe it. I genuinely cannot believe the reaction. So, and I mean, it's wild to me. It wasn't meant as it's not a personal shot. It's not a personal shot. So, Brady Jarrah, peace, my guy. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. I'm not going to apologize for a sports take. That would go against everything I believe in. So, Brady and Jarrah, y'all take care, man. I don't know what else to tell you. Anyways, like I said, hey, you give thousands of takes, 98% will land, 2% won't. I'm not going to bend the knee because the 2%, because that's only going to affect the 98%. So I'm going to continue as we have throughout this week, making content and pushing forward. And that's why TSUS has been successful. And, you know, I've had takes like this. I've had takes like this throughout the history of TSUS. And it has not slowed us down in any sort of way. It hasn't. So, Jarrah, it's not right or wrong. It's just a take. I'm not saying I'm right. I just gave my opinion. What I say is not. I am not a Gamecock god. I'm not out here like everything. I don't bat 1,000. The beauty's in the banter. We can argue. But I'm not apologizing for giving a sports take. That's no. No. And it wasn't, again, Brady, it wasn't tearing Dakereon Joyner down. It's just an honest assessment of his role in the football team. Is he an elite wide receiver or even a true wide receiver? Is he an elite quarterback or even a true quarterback? No. And again, it's not his fault. I feel bad, if anything, for Dak Joyner. I'm glad he's a Gamecock. I'm not sitting here saying I don't want him to be on the roster, but I would have loved to have seen him gone somewhere and actually play and been a big-time contributor. He would have given, dude, like a Georgia State. He would give teams hell there. Georgia State, a Louisville. He could have went there and started. So, you know, again, it's been funny, the outcry that I've seen, but nobody's refuted the point that we made, the point that I made. And again, if you disagree, that's fine. But to ask for an apology is soft. It's soft. It's soft, and it is what it is. Like I said, there's a reason I haven't spent time this week, guys. I haven't gone back and forth in conversation with people on social media. I'm certainly not bending the knee to the message board minions, the social media, the social media crowd. Like, to hell with it, bro. We keep it rocking. We keep it rolling. I've operated a certain way. And listen, like I said, I don't bat 1,000. Some takes I give are just bad. I have bad takes. We all have bad takes. That take did not land. I can tell you one thing I won't do the rest of the year is talk about Dakereon Joyner. Unless he's scoring a touchdown, you won't hear any more Dak Joyner banter from me. Listen, all I'll say is this. I got love for Dak Joyner. I'm glad he's a Gamecock. I'm glad that he didn't transfer. I mean, there's a lot to say about a guy that bleeds the garnet and black, and he's represented USC in a first-class manner. Obviously gave us, again, one of the best memories ever in school history with that Dukes Mayo Bowl victory. All I said was, why is he not playing even when he's healthy? I know he's not healthy. Even when he's healthy, guys, what's his true position? Unfortunately, because the previous coaching staff, they couldn't figure out where they wanted him to be. He hasn't spent all of his time at quarterback, and he hadn't spent all of his time at wide receiver, which I think has stunted his growth and his development. It ain't all his fault, but that is the truth. That's the truth. So it is what it is. It is what it is. So, you know, and it's funny, too, the folks that are complaining about the recruiting side of things. Guys, if people weren't screenshotting it and sharing it in every Facebook group imaginable, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But here we are. So it is what it is. Like I said, guys, we'll keep it moving. You know, I think it is like 98% of takes will hit, 2% don't. I'm not bending the knee and just, I got to completely revamp the way I think and I give sports takes because of 2%. Just not doing it. I'm just not doing it. Because, again, the proof's in the pudding. Business is successful. The business has been successful. And it ain't tearing people down. People took that. I understand. Listen, we just lost to Arkansas. Everybody's hypersensitive. Everybody's over the top sensitive. Whatever, man. I still sit here and I'm stunned. I'm stunned at the reaction. I'm stunned people would have the audacity. Like, what do you want me to apologize for? I mean, I'm sorry for giving a take that people did not like, or that some people did not like. Because if you look at the follower counts and the amount of folks that unfollowed us or voiced whatever, when you do the math, guys, there's over 26,000 followers on Twitter. Maybe 100 people didn't like the take. I mean, you do the percentages. So, again, I will just say this. Like I said, not every take I give lands. I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect by any means. It is what it is. So we can, the beauty's in the banter. I've been open to somebody calling in this week. I'd love to have this conversation because, again, I got nothing but love for Dak Joyner. God, I hope he when he wants to prove a point, he comes back healthy, has 1,000 yards receiving. I'd love nothing more. Dak Joyner's success is success for South Carolina, and South Carolina's success is good for all of us. So, dude, I want Dak to have an incredible year. I'd love to see him get some playing time. But, again, you ask me why a certain player – this goes beyond any sport, too. You ask me why something's not happening or why this is that, I'm going to give you an honest take and an honest answer. And, Cocky Twan, you can pipe down slap dick. I don't really give a damn, bro. You're just in here to talk shit. You're here to talk shit and run back to Twitter and tweet about it, and dude, that's totally fine, man. The Twitter warriors can do their thing. Again, it is what it is, bro. Don't ask me a question I guess you don't want the answer to. I don't know what else to tell you. So it is what it is. Like I said, we're going to leave it alone, though. Got nothing but love for Dak Joyner. I hope he comes back, has 1,000 yards receiving. If he's back this weekend, hope he has 300 yards receiving against Georgia and balls out and is all SEC. And, again, if anything, I feel for the guy because he hasn't gotten the development that he needs. He obviously the previous staff, they couldn't make up their minds. Is he a quarterback? Is he a receiver? And then just kind of stunted his growth. And I commend him. I commend him for bleeding the garnet and black and sticking around and representing USC.
Brian.
The right way. So let's jump to the phone lines here. Brian, what's up, man? How are you?
What's up, my friend? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Appreciate you asking. What's going on?
Hey, man, I'm going against Vegas. You know how I roll with picking Gamecock football.
Plus 24.5.
Yeah, I'm going against that.
I like it.
I'm going with Carolina in the upset. And I'll give you the reasons why, because sometimes I just give you a pick and don't give you the reason. But
yeah,
my gut's telling me that we haven't seen the best of Carolina football yet. The potential of this team is nowhere near where it's going to be. And I trust, like you said, trust the system. I trust Coach Beamer and his coaches will put South Carolina in the very best position to win this ball game. But like you said, I watched the Arkansas game. I just rewatched it. The offensive line did pretty decent pass blocking. The run blocking, if I were coaching, I mean, you watch a lot of football like I do. If we were to go to a zone blocking scheme, we could run the ball on anybody because, as you know, a zone, you got a certain zone to block and that's it. But what I'm saying is I think Spencer Rattler and the Gamecocks get the dub, and the score's going to be 28-24 South Carolina. And I look to you on there. Take care, bub.
Brian, there you go. 28-24. I appreciate the call. Hey, from your lips to God's ears, my friend, we'd all love to see it. Yeah, I think most certainly this is not the week that you're going to figure it out in the run game. It's all on 7, I think. And here's the good news. You got a quarterback like Spencer Rattler, you got a chance. You got a quarterback like Spencer Rattler, you got a chance. Maybe he has that game like he had, like Stephen Garcia had against Bama back in 2010, and he balls out, and who knows? You know what I mean? And then maybe you're able to get a couple turnovers. Georgia, for whatever reason, they're putting the football on the ground. Stetson Bennett doesn't have a great day, or maybe Georgia's just freaking overrated. Beamer ball needs to play a big role. So, you can get that going as well. There's a recipe there, but it's going to take some abnormal things. Some abnormal things for that upset to happen. So, Brady, I got nothing but love for you, man. Sorry if the word soft, I'll own that. The word soft was harsh. I don't think it's soft to disagree, but to have the reaction that some have had has been pretty wild. And it's so funny because I've had people say like they're going to call sponsors and email. Dude, they're going to laugh in your face just like I am. So good luck. Yeah, I mean, it's why, again, it was a sports take, man. Again, it didn't land with some folks. Jabari Ellis called me a prick. Cocky Twan said, that's fine, bro. I got to be honest with you, man. I do not give a damn. I got to be honest with you. I do not give a damn. It is what it is. Like I said, I don't bat 1,000, man. If you followed for long enough, hey, this damn near happens on a yearly basis. You give takes during football season. Folks are hypersensitive. Folks are over the top, ready to jump off a ledge, and all hell breaks loose. And that's what happens. That's what happens here. So it is what it is. And again, business has continued to flourish and rock over the years. And again, 98%, you give thousands of takes. There's odds that, 1 or 2 won't hit. But, I like the 48-hour rule because what's interesting is I responded to the tweet on Sunday, and then Monday things go crazy, and it's Wednesday, and I really haven't seen anything. I wish, Jirach, you would have tuned in here Monday or yesterday or whatever, because I feel like it's kind of a moot issue at this point now on social media. I don't hear nobody. It's just that's the way social media goes. 48 hours goes by, and people find something else to be pissed off about. So, again, like I said, I don't bat 1,000. Obviously, in that scenario, I did not, but I just gave an honest opinion about a player on the football team and what his role is. And it's not out of a place of hate or vitriol for anyone. I mean, obviously I support every single person that wears the garnet and black and bleeds the garnet and black. And I mean, we're all pulling for the same thing and in this together, but you want an honest evaluation of where a player stands in the team. You got it. So, yeah. So, it's unfortunate if, hey, listen, you want to have banter, you want to have conversation. I'm more than happy to do so. But I'm just not going to apologize for giving a sports take, man. And here's the thing. I've apologized for stuff before that I've said that, that has happened, but, is what it is, man. We press on. I'm more worried at this point, man, how in the world are we going to hang with Georgia? How in the world? Hey, whether it's Dak Joyner, whether it's Jalen Brooks, whether it's Antoine Wells, does Josh Vann show up this week? Does Jaheim Bell? I mean, here's the thing. I tell you what cannot happen. Jaheim Bell cannot have 4 carries for 5 yards again and have no catches. So you need Jaheim Bell. You got to get him involved. Obviously, the tight end is going to the tight end's going to play a major role. I mean, you look at what Georgia's going to do with Brock Bowers, Leonard Washington, Eric Gilbert, those guys. God, you just hate to see Cobb and Strachan out for the year, man. Two guys. I mean, I was really high on Strachan coming in the year. Thought he was going to lead this football team in sacks. And then Cobb, obviously a guy, J.C. Sherbert, they love him. I love him. Really high on him. Thought he was going to kind of be maybe the leader of the linebacker group, and it's just unfortunate. I think it happened on the same play, too. And somebody got to step up. I mean, I just, somebody's got to step up, because this season's not just this weekend. Obviously, it's 9 more games out of this one. So, but, is what it is. We'll see what happens. Guys, again, I want to say this. I appreciate you all tuning in, because I will say this on a side note. I think where we get lost sometimes is that we focus on the, especially on social media, we focus on the negative and we focus on the outlandish things people say. But here's the thing. People that are, and I'm not saying, again, you don't have, banter back and forth, all that, but, the negative is normally the loudest. That goes beyond sports, right? We see that in everyday life. So I want to say thank you, though, to those. And I really try to focus on, I'd say it's 99.9% that are positive and supportive, and you got the 0.1% that aren't. bro, I like to give my attention to the 99%. I do. I think it's a bad use of energy. I think it's counterproductive to sit there and dwell on, it's how we're wired as human beings, right? You get 100 comments on a posting, and this could go to your personal life, whoever I'm talking to out there. You get 100 comments on a post. There's one negative comment. You can have 99 positive, one negative. You are going to dwell on that negative. You're going to dwell on it, right? You're going to dwell on that negative. So I really have over the years tried to shift my focus and say, you know what? Those negative comments, they're going to happen. I mean, it's sports. There's a lot of passion. There's a lot of energy. I stay bringing the heat, keeping it real, keeping it a buck. You guys keep it real, keep it a buck. We don't always agree. And that's the beauty of it. But I really stay trying to focus on the positive and the bottom line is this. We all love the Gamecocks. We all love Carolina football. And God, I mean, we're all hoping for the same thing this weekend and every weekend this football team plays. That's all we're hoping for. That's all we're hoping for is to see massive success for everyone involved in Gamecocks football, from the coaching staff to the players to the support staff. And that goes for every single sport on campus. So, there's no way I could do what I do and create the sheer amount of content I create and create the merchandise and do what and take the heat I take if I was not driven by the fact that I love USC and I bleed garnet and black. I live and die for Gamecocks athletics. It basically is my life. Gamecocks athletics basically is my life. So I'm hoping for the best Saturday, man. I'd love nothing more than to see a repeat of 2019, but at home. Who knows? Maybe if early on some crazy things happen. Here we go. James, what's up, man? How are you? And he hung up. Okay. James, I don't know if your phone got messed up or what happened, but if you'd like to call back in, you're more than welcome. 843-790-3377. That is 843-790-3377. Again, guys, we can talk ball you want. Like I said, some takes land, some takes don't. What are you going to do? Quit? You got to keep it moving. That's what we'll do. Anyways, let's see. Yeah, how about the statistics, by the way? Rattler's third in the SEC in passing yards. Antoine Wells currently ranks first in receiving yards. So, I mean, that's pretty notable. I think some of that has to do with the fact that we have not been able to run the football. I mean, I think that honestly probably comes back to that. But, I know that our good friend Anthony Triesch, he was critical a bit. He was a bit critical of Spencer Rattler and his play. And again, I wanted to make sure I pointed this out when he was on. I think it's because he expects so much of him. I mean, Anthony Triesch rated Spencer Rattler as one of the top quarterbacks in all of college football. So he's obviously got high expectations of him. I do too. I've had no issue with the way Rattler's played. I really haven't. He has not been perfect by any means, but all things considered, having no running game, I think he's done what he can with what he's sort of got available. Antoine Wells, again, been good as advertised. We need to see Josh Vann step up, though. I don't know what's going on with Josh Vann. I mean, you think as a veteran guy, I've heard people say, well, I think it just might be mental. I mean, he's a veteran, dude. Unless there's things going on off the field we don't know about. I know he has a child, obviously, and he's got a whole family, and he's taking care of that. But, we saw it last year. We know the kind of player he can be. We know he can be a playmaker in this offense. You need somebody else outside of Wells. But I wonder too, is it going to be a situation where you had Jalen Brooks lead the team in receiving week 1, then it was Antoine Wells? Is it somebody different this week? Is it going to be one of those things where it's sort of every week it's a different guy? And I mean, that could be looked at as a positive because it means you have a lot of options, but you'd like to have a consistent go-to number one guy. That is somebody you can depend on week after week. Aaron Hodges says, do you believe that he's played up to expectations? I think through 2 weeks, Spencer Rattler, I think it depends on what your expectations were in the preseason. For me personally, I think he's played to expectations. Yes, I think he has. All things considered, because there's 10 other guys on the field, right? You talk about the offensive line. You talk about the receiver room. All things considered, and I'm not downing the receiver room when I say that, but I'm just saying all things considered, I think Spencer Rattler's played solid football. But I guess that's a question for the masses. has Spencer Rattler lived up through 2 weeks to the preseason expectations? I say that he has. Guys, we're going to jump into one final break, but I want to continue to hear from you more, your questions, comments, calls, and more on the other side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. All right, guys, we're back. Final 10 minutes or so here on the Daily Crow this Wednesday, September the 14th, taking your questions, comments, calls. Let's jump right back into it because I'm seeing a lot of your comments in regards to Spencer Rattler and what we were just talking about before the break. Let's see. Coach Ford says, Rattler's done all he can, what he has to do it with. When he can't run for 40 or block, when we can't run for 40 or block more than 3, it's hard on a quarterback. His stats don't impress me, though, because we went down 3 touchdowns at Arkansas against a secondary down 2 starters. And then Georgia State. Courtney Washington says Spencer missed throws, lost the Arkansas game, point blank, period. Okay. Do some others feel that way? Aaron Hodges says 208 yards in the fourth quarter when the game's out of reach, a safety, 3 interceptions. 3 interceptions total. He's got 2 TDs, 3 picks on the year. No, not up to expectations, but he's been quality given the circumstances. Hunter Johnson says safety that shouldn't have been called. 1 interception wasn't his fault. Him missing throws didn't cost the game. Giving up 300 yards rushing did. Listen, again, guys, did Spencer Rattler play perfectly on Saturday? No, he did not. No, he did not. As Courtney pointed out, he missed some throws that could have been difference makers. I would argue early in the game, one of them is receivers got to help him out, right? Make a play. You know, Connor Shaw didn't put every single throw on the money. Didn't put every single throw on the money. But, you know, his receivers made plays, right? And I know, again, when you lose, you nitpick, and it's like, well, this guy could have made this throw. This guy could have made this catch. I understand that. But, I mean, to me, it just all comes back to the fact, like, you gave up 200. Here's the thing. You gave up 295 yards rushing, and I just feel like Arkansas could have ran for as many as they wanted. I mean, we weren't getting a push. You know, people want to talk about, has Spencer Rattler not lived up to the expectations that were set on him in the preseason? Well, what about the defensive line? Has the defensive line lived up to the expectations? I mean, really, do we think the defensive line has lived up? How about the defensive tackles that Shane Beamer was talking on all preseason? Again, I'm not coming at Coach Beamer for that, obviously, but, like, where have they been? What is it on? I mean, I think that's what's so maddening. What is it on the defensive front? And what's so funny, too, let me just point this out since we're airing it all out today. There were people that said I was calling for a coach's job this week. Folks, if I want to call for someone's job, you best believe, y'all know it, I will do it. I didn't call for Jimmy Lindsey's job. All I said was people want to just hammer Marcus Satterfield. And that's fine. He deserves it. Right? His unit has not performed the way we'd all like. But damn it, if you want to if you want to live that way, give Jimmy Lindsey some heat also. Give Jimmy Lindsey some heat also. Because the defensive line has not played well. 200 and 295 rushing through the first 2 weeks. You tell me, right? So I'm not calling for his job. I'm obviously not calling for Jimmy Lindsey. I'm not even calling for Satterfield's job yet. I haven't called for any jobs. I think it's silly to call for a job in week 2. All I'm saying is, like, the pressure should be there. The defensive line's got to play better. It's been wild. Like, you were calling for a guy's job. It's like, no, but I'm just saying, if you're going to have this energy, keep it consistent across all position coaches. Keep it consistent. If you want to bring the heat on Satterfield and say, well, his rear end's heating up, well, I'm just saying, keep your energy consistent. Spread that to Jimmy Lindsey too, and, like, hey, we need to see more. I'm not calling for any jobs. I like the staff. I don't dislike the staff. Obviously, again, it's a results-oriented business. It comes down to having success. That's what we said all preseason about Satterfield, right? I mean, I like Sat. I want Sat to succeed because he's recruiting at a high level. These coaches are recruiting at a high level. I don't want to have to change coaches. But at some point, if the offense doesn't perform, I don't think Sat's going to be around. They're not going to be able to keep him around. Lady Bree, by the way, I was tuned in last night to Mike Yuva's show, and I heard you call in. I don't think And I apologize to Lady Bree, by the way, because I think it was a day. I don't know what happened. I think that I had a couple Clemson fans call in and troll, and I don't know what happened. Lady Bree called in. I thought it was another Clemson fan calling in. Obviously, it wasn't. So make sure. I tried to find where I could message you on YouTube and get your number so I could unblock your number, if you will. I don't know what your number is, so I don't know how. I don't know. Let me see. Maybe I could scroll through here and just because I don't have. Maybe I could just go through my settings. Here we go. Let's see. I don't know. Anyways, I'd like to unblock your number. I just don't know what it is. And I don't know how to get in touch with you and figure out what it is. So if you want to shoot me a DM or Georgia, whatever. Jimmy Mitchell says, you're always calling for jobs, football, baseball, and basketball. Well, Jimmy, look at what happened in basketball. We went to the NCAA tournament one time in 10 years. Look what happened in baseball, my guy. We went under 500. And look what happened in football, Jimmy. Will Muschamp was a slapdick. So what do you want me to do? I'm just a reflection of what the hell's going on the field. But with that being said, in no way have I called for anybody's job on this football team, and I can't believe there's anybody out there that thinks that. Like, do I need to put out another tweet? Hey, just so y'all know, like, sometimes I just like watching people's minds go crazy on social media because people so willingly just attach to a tweet and they spin it out of control when it doesn't even, like, mean what it said. And I'm just like, I'll just let it go. Whatever. Like, no, I did not call for Jimmy Lindsey's job. All I said was, you want to just hammer Sad after these first two games? Well, why not hammer Jimmy Lindsey too? Keep your energy consistent. His unit hadn't performed the way it should, and we couldn't stop the run last year either. But I like Jimmy Lindsey. I'm not calling for his job. I most certainly am not. I'm not calling for anybody's job on that staff right now, not even Marcus Satterfield. I think there's pressure, which no duh. It's South Carolina. We're in the SEC. It's a big-time job. We have high expectations. There's pressure. So I have not called for anybody's job. But, oh, you're the guy that calls for everybody's job. Well, God, I wish that wasn't the case. If we were winning in every sport, I wouldn't be doing that. Hell, I waited as long as I could on Frank Martin and Mark Kingston. And I hope Mark Kingston, now that he's added Monty Lee, dude, I'm praying the Yardcocks have a big year next year. I'd love nothing more than 5 years from now, the narrative for Gamecock baseball to be, hey, you know what? He had a slow start, but he used that adversity and got better from it, added the right pieces, and now we're big-time winners back in Omaha. So, have you said fired Dawn? No, I have not, and I never will. Dawn Staley's the queen. Anybody who says fire Dawn is insane. I'm not, again, I'm not, all I'm saying is the D-line needs to play better. Don't we feel like that's the one that's really hard to grasp, right? I can see personnel issues at other positions. You look at D-line, though, and you're just like, I'm not saying they should be the best in the SEC, but man, it feels like they should be better. You know, it just, so this is a big game this weekend. Like, it's not going to be good enough. I understand Georgia's elite, but it's not good enough to just get, Georgia just run the ball down your throat and give up 300 yards rushing. Like, we got to see something. We got, and again, this D-line will be better, no doubt. But right now, you are what the numbers say you are, and you're giving up 200 and 295 yards rushing, respectively, in your first two games. What's Georgia going to do to you? We got to see improvement, man. We have got, because we will not get to 7 wins, God forbid. We won't get to 6 wins if we can't stop the run. We got to be able to slow down the run. Slow down the run. Guys, we've hit 2 o'clock. Appreciate you all tuning in. Hey, bringing the heat today. I appreciate it, man. Today was awesome. Today was fun. The beauty in the banter, folks. Beauty in the banter. Hey, that's it, man. We keep the hits coming. We keep rocking. We keep rolling. Y'all stay tuned. All the content bleeding out the eyeballs. Check out the podcast that dropped this morning. TDC all throughout the rest of the week. And the podcast coming to you back again on Friday. Outside of that, guys, appreciate you all tuning in. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. And we will talk to you all